we're at a major shifting point. It's almost like the Industrial Revolution.
Well, and people would actually say that this is still a lag. This is not even the most leverage there. I'd say like the highest tier of leverage to talk about is like media. And that is something that's probably like newer, but like technology, you can still push it back into 20, 30 years, right? Where software gave us greater leverage there. And then you'd say like media is this most recent one where like that ability to like leverage. And this is why you're looking at like empires being built on the backs of media. People like Mr. Beats launching billion dollar companies. Why? Because he has such influence and such reach that when he launches a burger joint, it doesn't matter how much capital, how many team members he has, what what kind of technology he has there. He could have the most inefficient, understaffed, bootstrapped burger joint, and they would sell out every single day because of his media influence there. But AI is interesting in that it fits in. It is actually not a media tier. This is why, like, of potential points of leverage, you put in that technology space. But what is it looking at? Like from an intelligence, does it have the ability to actually improve other forms of leverage? And that's the interesting part of it. Maybe all of them kind of like cascade backwards and improve the leverage that you have from the others. So you could say like, if you've got incredible media, you can probably attract better talent. It's probably easier for you to get capital.
And same thing, capital can allow you to hire greater skill force or greater workforce, all those things.
Yeah, so they kind of like move back and create exponential leverage down the chain. But on the AI side with marketing, like if you just think of it through that lens, how am I being better as I grow? Because what's unintuitive to folks is you're growing a business, which marketing does, right? If you get better at marketing, you will experience growth. And it's usually like this tension of sales and marketing and fulfillment. Like, gosh, we did a great marketing campaign where we ruined the fulfillment team. And it's like, oh, we got to fix the systems over here. But the unintuitive thing, if you haven't been there, is that growth is not linear. It's not linear. And it's not even, and I guess what I'd say is, especially even if you have exponential growth, you have disproportionately inefficient consequences of that exponential growth. So I've heard it said this way, especially when it comes to that lowest tier, labor. Here's an example of its inefficiency, is that the square root of your team size does half the work. So if you've got 10 folks, that means maybe there's 3 people that do half the work. And you're like, that's reasonable. You make it a little bit bigger and you're like, I got a team of 25. And you're like, there's probably 5 people doing half the work. Yeah, you got a team of 100. That's 10 people doing half the work. And it's sort of like, I don't know if it's benchmark principle. Anecdotally, it starts to feel very real. And why that happens is because you need, as those things get bigger, you end up needing redundancy and stability. Like if you look at a chair and you're like, what's the most important part of the chair? Like the part that people sit on? Like, yeah. Okay. Well, so what if 2 of the legs take a day off? The whole chair crumbles. It doesn't matter how comfortable the seat was. And you're like, technically, who takes the brunt and kind of does the heavy lifting and like, it's like doing all those things? You'd be like, well, it's the seat part of it, right? It's like the part that you put your butt in. Like that is the most important part. That's the part that defines a great chair from a mediocre chair. No one says, check out my chair. It's phenomenal. I've got really buff legs on it. No one does that. You're like, I pad the seat, the cushion, the arm. Like that's the part that interfaces, you might say, it's doing half the work. However, for it to stand, you end up needing more legs. You just like that one is supported by 4. And so as that kind of goes, it kind of continues in that same way. It's like your top performers, your folks that are doing half the workload, they want to be able to take days off. They want to, even if it takes 3 people around them, or it's like come out to be, whatever. Even
whatever that math is.
Whatever that math is, even if it's 3 or 6 or 7 people around them to carry the same amount of work, just to do half of what they were doing, they appreciate that, right? And so it's just a reality as you scale. Like you can't, I don't want to say you can't. It is more and more challenging because of that reality. Now flip the script or consider a different tier now. What does AI allow us to do? It allows us to get closer to your top tier, B+, like the examples that people have seen in certain sectors of application there where they're like, hey, this is like a solid B, right? And usually it's like, I got an A supported by C's, maybe even D's, because you're like, man, I just need, you're just whatever. You're the night shift, or you are you're just like the third round fill in here. And you end up making sense of it because you're like, my top folks, I hope that they'll inspire and train and educate and everyone will kind of rise up. But you need coverage, that stability. You need legs to hold the seat. And with AI, you actually can scale linearly in terms of that input because you've got predictable inputs and predictable outputs. Like it doesn't take a sick day. It doesn't take time off. It doesn't change careers. And so think about that too. As we create these models, these applications, these technological advances that get better and improve either by your own iterative building process. We're like, I used it this way. It got me like 80% of the way there and I stacked it. I was like, I did this plus this. Oh, cool. That's even cooler. It's like you have a leveling up asset here, like tool for leverage without the risk, which is just fascinating to think about.